Which wave camp this was, if it was 5 or 6, I think it's 5. So every year we welcome new faces, old faces, and every year we've had wave. We've always been very humble about that because we know that it's inevitable that one of these years we're not going to have wave. This might be the year.
Congratulations.
Yeah. We had great wave last weekend. But it looks like we might actually have some pretty legendary thermal flying. Reno is one of the few areas in the world, in the country, where the local weather service posts a soaring forecast every morning. So it's kind of the shortcut cheater way of looking at what's going on. It's often a little bit optimistic, but you can still sort of get a feel. You can compare it to yesterday. We've got 2 columns today and yesterday. And today they're saying 1,000 feet per minute of lift up to 17,500 feet, which should bring out some private pilots. It's almost, I call it sort of organized sucking, because you just, if it's really that strong, you can fly sloppy, and you could just sort of need to keep your glider organized in the thermal, and you'll just be at cloud base before you know it. So that's the good news. Now, Wave Camp, we accept people to sign up based on the fact that we're going to be sharing gliders, because we want you to have an altitude experience. And if we open the wave window and you go to 28,000 feet, we pretty much like you to do that, go up, say, ooh, ah, look how tiny things look from up here, come back down, you know, be on the ground for a little while. And that can be pretty quick. So we share gliders, you know, we stuff somebody in the glider with an instructor, up you go, okay, ooh, now I'm freezing, come down, breathe some air down here, put somebody else in the glider. So we're going to be, since we're thermal flying, those tend to be longer flights. So we're going to, one of the things we're going to do today is figure out who wants to do what in what glider. We've got 4 two-place gliders available and 4 instructors to fly them. We have 2 two-place gliders available with whoever's qualified to fly them. So the good news is the days are long. Sometimes the best flying comes late in the day, but I think it's going to be a really strong soaring day. So I guess I'm not going to apologize for that. We're still going to teach you about wave and how to be safe in wave and what the markers are and how to do all that. And you never know, the universe may surprise us and we may get some wave sometime this week. Why don't we start with Eric Nielsen and go around the room, and I want to know who you are, where you're from, when you got your license, and how many hours you've flown. You can estimate. I mean, you don't need to get your logbook out. You can kind of give me a...
I'm Eric Nielsen, Seattle. I got my license in 81 or 2
You can estimate
Black
that too.
Forest.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so my experience is pretty sporadic. Just might go a couple of years without soaring, and then
Okay.
that kind of thing. So I've got, I don't know, 110, 120 glider flights.
Okay. Welcome.
Thank you.
Fred Patton, I'm from Oakland, over the other side of the hill. I got my certificate last November, and I've been flying a little bit in the gliders, but I've got experience. I used to fly with the Marine Corps. I flew jets in Vietnam, and I flew power planes until about 20 years ago, and then I decided I didn't have any more places to go, so I got rid of the power planes, and now I'm into gliders.
Now, are you the one who brought your own glider?
No.
Who brought their own glider? Okay, sorry, getting confused. Well, welcome. You're not gonna win the came the longest, you know
No,
that, right?
no, I'm
Okay.
gonna get the shortest.
Well, no, oh, maybe.
Tom Bloxham. I'm a powered airplane pilot, 2,000 hours, instrument rated. I got my pilot's license in 1972, but I got my glider rating in 2006, and then I promptly did not fly for several years, and then I came back last year, and Russ checked me out again, and so I'm here.
Welcome. And you're from?
Lafayette, California.
Okay, so you guys are
Oh, you're
neighbors,
closer
right?
than I am by about 5 miles.
That's it.
There goes your closest
I lost
follower.
my award.
I'm Terry Pitts, Augusta, Georgia, perhaps the furthest out of the lower 48, but I know I'm not the furthest on the globe. Power license 1989, not current multi-instrument. The Army sent me to Germany a couple of years ago, or more than that, 3 years ago. I decided to get a glider add-on rating so that I could fly while I was there. 2011 private add-on, initial commercial 2013. The 2012 private, 2013 commercial. Never mind. 3 years in a row, private commercial CFI just over a year ago. 25 total hours of dual given so far. Almost 400 glider flights in German, British, and American gliders in those 3 countries. Aerobatic ratings in England and Norway. Did I answer all the questions? Oh, 550 power hours, 100 glider hours, 400 flights.
I think that's it. Anybody have any questions for Terry?
Yeah, are you one of the instructors out here?
I am not. Although I am looking for a retirement job in a couple of years.
Oh, see, I put in a.
This is a nice place to retire. We do have an older age demographic here. People tend to retire here. It's, well, we can talk about that later.
Jeff Resnick from Reno.
Ooh, he's closer.
Yeah. I have 1,500 hours in power and been flying gliders under Russell's tutelage for a year now.
And you own your own glider, right?
Yes, I'm weak-willed.
That's one way of putting it.
Just
I
have the
looked
correct priorities. It's like-
I looked at you as driven. It's like, you're gonna do it, you're not gonna do it halfway, one of those rental gliders. You know, I'm gonna have my own ship.
Hopefully my power plane will be no more next week, and I can really focus on this.
See, now here's a guy who learned how to fly a glider and decided to sell his power plane.
Nice power play.
Easy call. Easy
Take
call.
notes, is that?
I mean, is he a perfect customer or what? You're up, Eric.
Okay. Eric Bick. I'm from the greater Southern California area. Live down by the beach, fly out of Cray Field down in California.
Okay, hang on, both right there. Who's heard of Crayfield? Okay, so I'm not alone. I said, where? You never heard of Cray?
Near Palmdale. Near Palmdale.
Okay,
I did.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Eric. Carry on.
Well, Cray Field is a place such as a dirt gravel runway, and most of us consider it an outlanding place as opposed to a
As
finished
opposed to
field.
home.
Any place, so any land you can walk away from. Let's see, I'm coming up for my 3rd biennial this July, so that would be a little over 5 years ago that I got my private. cert, and I've got about, coming up to 300 hours in gliders. I'll go past 300. My goal has been to get the number of flights to be less than the number of hours. And just about to cross over. Finally started racking up some longer flights the last couple of years, so,
Well, you should be able to kill that today,
yeah,
or this week, actually, if you wanna do
I'm
something.
counting on it, yeah.
Well, we'll check in with you about that later in camp, see how
Yeah.
you're doing.
I'm Daniel Barquet. I'm in San Francisco, grew up in Southern California as well. Cut my teeth in aviation flying paragliders, which I started in 2003. I have a few hundred hours doing that. Still do that by the coast. And then I got into power in 2009, got my private in 2010. I have about 150 hours there. And then this January, got my glider rating from Russel and everyone here. About 50-something glider flights, 20-something hours, and just new to this whole fiberglass side of things. Excited.
And aerobatics, you like doing aerobatics?
Oh yeah, no, that's super fun.
Yes, it is.
And you're from San Francisco, so you're not gonna be the closest either.
Yeah, I'm in the mushy middle.
Yeah, okay. Masahiro?
I'm Masahiro Sonomura. こんにちは。I come from Japan. I have about 700 hours in glider. And I obtained the glider license in 1963.
Wow.
Young man.
Masahiro is one of our regulars, so welcome. And you're gonna be here through April, right? You're gonna stay to the middle of April?
No, 16.
Of April. I'd call that the middle of April. Yeah. Well, welcome back. It's fun to see you back. So one of these times we have to take you out and buy you a big steak. This guy's, yeah.
Can I ask him a question? Is that certificate transferable to the United States or any other country, or do you have to get certificated here? Can you transfer your Japanese certificate over here?
License?
No, do you need a special certificate to fly here?
Yes.
Yeah.
We do,
Yes.
okay. So if I go to Mexico, I have to get another certificate
Yes.
to fly there?
Unless
Well,
you bring your own
Mexico-
glider, then you have any normal glider, you can fly it international, but if it's not, if you want to fly one of theirs, it's registered, then you need to have a
Nowadays,
license.
many glider pilots in Japan fly in Australia or cross country.
Okay.
Yeah. 'Cause
They don't
it's
fly
close-
to Australia from you.
They probably do. Just on my glider.
Okay, Marcia.
Yesterday from Japan in a good jet stream. About
Last one I watched was
100 knots tailwind
Wow.
from Japan.
So fast? Was it fast?
Yeah, it's still the same movie. It's still the same it's still the same.
Wow. So how much shorter was your flight? Because of the
About
He's got
30 minutes.
based on.
Oh, that's not that much. 30 minutes?
They're probably normal back.
Oh,
Can't you get a wave up there?
probably. But those power guys don't understand that. So we're here to learn.
They call it turbulence.
That's because they don't move over a little bit, you know? Okay, Marcia.
Okay, I'm Marcia Mason from Portland, and I have a private pilot license, and I got that in 2010. And I'm working on a glider rating, and I have 6 hours. And our season in Portland closes the 1st of November. So since I didn't start till September, then it closed in November, and it doesn't open till the first weekend of April. So it just, and I don't know that it opened this weekend, this last weekend, we weren't there, because it was raining. So it may have opened, and so we kind of have just the spring and the summer. and the fall to fly. And that's it.
And we are here year round.
Yeah.
I mean, we become obviously much more weather dependent in the winter, but like this winter, been very mild. I mean, we've been flying all winter. It sort of messed up our winter project plans. We sort of count on some lousy days when the airport's closed. I don't think we had even one, did we?
I think so. Didn't seem like it.
And we have one glider port, so you're pretty limited there. So I'm here to learn.
Well, welcome. And who'd you bring with you?
I brought my husband Ed with me.
Hi, Ed.
Hey, thanks you guys.
He's a power plane pilot, but not a glider
And
pilot.
obviously, he didn't even think he deserved a name tag.
And and I do have one other thing to say. I did do my first paraglider experience at Torrey Pines.
Oh, at Torrey.
At Torrey Pines, about 3 weeks ago.
Cool.
Yeah, so that was fabulous.
That's a treatable condition.
And I was emailing back and forth with Marcia. She said, "What should I bring?" Because you've been down in
We've
Southern
been down,
California, right?
yes, we
And I
spent
said,
the
"But
winter in
Wave is
Coronado.
cold. You know, Wave's really cold." I said, "But don't go out and buy a bunch of stuff just in case there's Wave." So I told her I'd bring in my boots and my long underwear, and she can just wear my stuff if we have Wave, and she's gonna be cold. So welcome. It's nice to have a woman, a new face, and we get a lot of people from the Pacific Northwest because we have a lot more predictable conditions. Doesn't
Yeah.
rain here. If it does rain here, it's usually a cloud burst that sort of goes through. You just hang on to the gliders for a half hour, and then it's all gone, and you can fly.
Oh, and then I have mini flights where I've been up, for 2/10 of an hour, because you just go up and then you're
Just
down,
go
and then you
down.
land.
Yeah,
So-
well, you might have some wonderful lift experience today, so. And Ed, welcome. You could have put a name tag on.
I'm just a chauffeur.
Okay. All right, David.
David Booth. I'm originally from England, and that's where I learned to fly first in gliders, then power aircraft. Then I had a long layoff, 35 years or so. Started again a few years ago, winch launch gliding in the UK. I was living here. I was just going there for vacations with my son. 3 years ago, I got my private US private certificate, single engine land, and then 2 years ago with Russel I got my glider add-on rating. I think about 150 hours of glider flights overall. Quite a lot more flights than that, because a lot of my time was doing winch launches, so 5 minutes was a sort of average flight length. And yeah, that's about it.
But you live here now, right?
Yeah, in New York State.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty far, but you're not gonna win the furthest,
No,
right?
no.
Okay. Let's see, who snuck in? Quest, welcome.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. I need a name tag.
Well, you're the only Quest here, so
Okay,
maybe
so-
you remember that. We've got 2 Erics though,
Okay.
so.
My name's Quest Richlife, and I am from Hollister. I just towed a glider up last night and parked out. And so that's why I didn't get to bed till 2:30. So one of my first experiences of flight was driving by the North Plains glider port.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because I grew up in Portland, learned to fly in Hillsborough. Was a commuter pilot back east for a while. Worked as an airport operations specialist, and then got the opportunity to buy Hollister Gliding Club back in 2005, and owned that for 8 years. Did everything there, and just sold it about a year ago. And I've been doing a lot of, well, I got into instructing in gliders there in 2008. Didn't do a lot of flying gliders myself, except for locally. So I've been, over the past few years, I got my silver here a couple summers ago, and I got my gold badge out of Parawan last summer. My diamond task too, so I never flown waves, so I just decided to come up, been wanting to come up here, to the wave camp, and hope to get to diamond altitude. I don't know if I'll be able to get, we'll see.
Yeah, good luck.
You might be able to get a diamond distance from the sound of things.
Well,
I don't know about an altitude, we'll see.
yeah, so that's, I'm still living in Hollister, originally from Portland, so,
Oh, welcome.
yeah.
It's always nice to have you back.
Okay.
So some staff, Mike Moore, you wanna introduce yourself?
Mike
Dan
Moore,
barely
also
needs
a
introduction.
alumni from Black Forest Glider Port, certificated in 1971, and been flighty ever since, including jumping off of crest line and paragliders and hang gliders, but it's a lot easier to land on gliders, sailplanes. Yeah.
So Mike tows and instructs for us. So you might see him at either end of the operation this week.
Stefan Valentin came over from Austria in the mid-70s. I've been flying power planes since the early 80s and then gliders since the early 90s. Been here for the last 2 years. Been working for glider operations for the last 6 years here in Durango.
Stefan's also a tow pilot and an instructor. So, Tim?
Tim Gardner, started flying out of Boulder, Colorado in 1981, and CFI in airplanes and gliders, and worked part-time for Soaring ND.
Aerobatics, cross country. He also flies the tow plane for us sometimes. We also have Elizabeth.
I was gonna say, is she around the corner there, or she's?
Sylvia, why don't you introduce yourself?
I'm Silvio. I'm originally from Argentina. I lived most of my life in Australia, though, until I met this wonderful lady, which I married, and came to the States. And I'm a private pilot. I got my license in Australia originally, but I never did anything with it until now. And now I fly the pony, which I love doing.
And I just want to say this to everybody. He's promised to get his glider ad on this season.
I did. So now it's official.
It's now public, yeah.
So Elizabeth, step in a little bit, introduce yourself.
I'm Elizabeth Tattersall. I'm a glider instructor here. I'm also front desk, and I am a power pilot, but not a tow pilot. I have about 1,000 hours, or 1,000 flights in gliders, about 400 hours.
And Elizabeth also flies for CAP.
Yep.
She's also a doctor of biology. She teaches biology at the local college during the school year, and she's an Episcopal priest. So if anybody wants to get married, she actually did marry.
Or if you need prayer before going flying.
She actually did
Or
marry,
after.
She married a couple in the 232 up at 10,000 feet.
Yeah.
So we kind of we have all the bases covered, most of the hemispheres. So thank you.
And then
Oh,
there's
and then,
one more.
Oh, Russel. A man who needs no introduction. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
But I will anyway. I'm Russell. I'm got my license in '97 or so. Got my CFIG in '99. I don't know exactly how many hours I have. Somewhere in the 4,000 range. So about more than half of those teaching. That's that.
Reba, introduce yourself.
I'm the photographer. I'm going to be chasing you around all week. My name's Reba. I'm a commercially rated glider pilot. I've got about 275 hours, something like that. Haven't been solo for a few years. I just retired from state government about 2 months ago, and I can't stop working, so here I am. So, and I promise to start flying again.
And Reba's also organizing the 18-meter nationals that we're hosting here in June. So.
Yeah, so if there's any time in between, I might start flying again, but there's a lot going on, so it'll be fun. It'll be a great week.
What's a commercial glider pilot do?
Rides.
Rides. Yeah.
I'm sorry?
Rides. You can
Ride?
take people for rides, yeah.
Rides for hire is the.
Yeah, rides for hire.
Well, CFI does the same thing, right?
Yes.
You can, yeah, but.
Yeah, but
you
as a
don't have-
private
you don't-
pilot can't. Not allowed to. You can only take people up and split the expenses or something. And we have 22 people signed up for the 18-meter nationals, and I hear from my trusted advisor Pete Alexander, who's representing the United States and Poland this year, that the average has been around 15 pilots in that competition. This is the first national competition that's been held in Minden since.
Well, we had the open class nationals 2 years ago, but that was the first one since about 95, I think.
Yeah, and that's a small field. That was 9 pilots.
Yeah, it was only 9, yeah. We've got 22 now. We've got a few
So
more.
we're already deep into planning how we're gonna do the briefings and get them launched, and we're pretty excited about it because it seems like these pilots really want to come back and fly Minden, which is exactly what we want. So Reva's working hard, and thank you, Reva.
You're welcome. Welcome, everybody.
Okay, the first day of camp I always declare is PB&J Day, because it's really why I'm really in this sport, and it's about passion, beauty, and joy. I'm a low-hour pilot. I'm a commercial glider pilot also. I mostly fly the desk, and I'm also committed to getting some stick and rudder time of my own this time. I just believe gliders are the most beautiful man-made things in the sky. I never tire of watching them launch. I mean, I get goosebumps every time I watch a glider tow take off, and to me, it's as magical as watching that image come up out of the developer, you know, when you were all in the dark room doing black and white, you saw it, oh my God, it's the same kind of thrill for me. We also always have peanut butter and jelly sandwiches available to be made in the kitchen. So now I can segue into the food portion of my talk. If you need some fast energy, dig around. I bought peanut butter, jelly, and bread yesterday. So let's talk a little bit about food. There's some healthy snack stuff out for breakfast. You're on your own for lunch. You can always have a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. There's the tail dragger, a short walk that way. Very predictable airport food. They do a good chicken Caesar. And they have the best French fries in Douglas County. So just be warned. Flight restaurant is about twice the distance that way down Airport Road. Just a little nicer, a little more expensive, a little more choice when it comes to salads. We are having our final banquet there on Wednesday, and that is included in the price of Wave Camp. So we'll have our slideshow and banquet down there, but it's also a nice place to go for lunch. There is one mistake on the Wave Camp schedule, and that is we're having pizza tomorrow. Tonight we're having chicken and rice. So I hope that's okay with everybody.
That just ruins all
And Russell is such a planner. I mean, so does anybody have any restrictions? No dairy, no wheat, no anything, or vegetarian, vegan? Anybody who's gonna go hungry? She's like to know ahead of time. Is there anything else I was supposed to cover? I think I'm pretty well. I'll be here the whole time. You can always pull me aside, ask me questions, talk to me. We are going to go ahead with our wave education as planned, but then we want to get people flying. So we're going to figure out who wants to do what, when, who just needs a checkout, who wants to fly for a while, and make sure we can get everybody launched. We will have 2 tow pilots this afternoon so that we can get everybody off the ground. I wouldn't be surprised if we had some privates out there. Oh, Eric.
Hi, Lori.
Come in.
All right. Well, I'll just hover over here in the corner. You got a chair up there?
Yeah, well, if you want to sit like front and center, or there's a chair over here, but you do need to introduce yourself because we did that already.
Okay. I'm Eric Lazan. I'm from Southern California. I just got my commercial glider rating with Russ here last summer. And I went to Wave Camp last year without having a glider rating. But I learned a lot, so I'm hoping to learn some more this time and have some fun. Wave or no wave, you know, just have a little fun and learn some things.
Eric, before you sit down.
Welcome back. Thank you.
Everybody gets a t-shirt. Here, I'm wearing mine. See, it's got the little wave motif on the back. There's bins out there with various sizes in them, and I'm going to let you, on your own, just paw through there and get the size that fits you. They do shrink, so take that into account when you're picking out your size. Tonight's speaker is Gordon Betker first. He's the one who's attempting the downwind dashes, and his goal is to make Rapid City, South Dakota. So far this year, he made Casper, Wyoming once, and he made Logan, Utah the second time. Really interesting speaker. It's going to be somewhat informal with a slideshow, so you're going to be able to ask him a lot of questions. And he's the warm-up act for Einar Enevolten of the Perland Project, who is got more high altitude experience. He's flown all kinds of stuff. I find him riveting. And that'll be through dinner. So tonight we've got dinner and dessert. We're going to be out there, big screen out there. So plan on sticking around and eating and listening and get your questions ready, because these guys are really good. We tried to spread them out onto different nights, but this was the only night these two could make it, so we're kind of speaker heavy tonight. But I think it'll be interesting enough to keep you engaged. And Ed, you're welcome to join us.
Oh, thank you. Token male.
The token, not really here at Wave Camp guy. Can come and, it's really interesting stuff. And you know, I've heard them both speak before, and I can hardly wait to hear what they have to say tonight. So, with that,
What time will that start?
6:30.
Yeah, and there is a schedule in the, like, the second page of the kind of roughly stuff.
Yeah. Well, flying always trumps lots of talk. We had some stuff we wanted to go over this morning before we get people out there. So, I'll turn it over to Russell.
Okay, thanks. So, there's a clipboard here that I want to get information from all the pilots, all the participants on. About half the people have already signed up on it. The first section here is the checkouts. So if you already have, glider checkouts, just mark it with an X. If you want to get checked out in that glider during the camp, put a circle there, and then we'll exit in later when we get you checked out. The next columns are about what kind of flying you want to do. If you're only wanting to do dual, mark that. If you're wanting to do some dual and some solo, mark those. Then if you're only interested in doing solo, mark that. If you brought your own glider and you're not going to fly with any of our instructors at all, leave it blank. If you're willing to fly in thermal conditions, if you're going to fly this week, you're not going to have to. Mark that. And then, if you really want to have some wishful thinking and you want to try a diamond attempt, you can mark it there, just so we know who's trying to do that. So far, nobody signed up for that. So anyway, I'm just going to pass that around and start filling that out. There are 2 sign-ups at the front desk for the dinners. So if people could sign up for those so that we know how many people to expect, especially the Wednesday night flight, since we have to pay for that one big time. So just want to get a head count for that. So sometime today or tomorrow or whenever, get signed up on that. The other thing here, typically when we have Wave Camp, we try to spread out the seminar or the talks so that, because you can have Wave in the morning, Wave in the evening, whatever. The Wave's not looking good for this week, so I moved all the seminars, all the talks to the front of the day so that we can go do thermals in the afternoon. So today, and if there's, today's talks are mandatory once you're here for the standard operating procedures, and then talking about the core of the Wave stuff. If you just really want to go fly in the mornings from now on, you want to skip the lectures, feel free. I'm going to have a sign-up sheet here that's for the different gliders, the 21s, the duos, and the single places, and with the instructors that will be available that day. And what we're probably going to do is today we're just going to kind of freeform it, let everybody fight over it, hopefully everybody get along. If that works out okay, then we'll do that. If not, we may take this list, organize it, and then give people first shot, and rotate who gets first shot every day at picking slots. So that's the deal today. And so that's all of the administrative stuff. So now we're going to jump in. So for those of you who have flown here before, this is going to be a review. I'm just going to go spend about half an hour, 45 minutes on our standard operating procedures. And that's the first section in your notebooks. You guys want to move these guys. So if you can learn to fly here, if you can fly here safely, you can fly anywhere. But we really want to do everything we can to make this a safe and enjoyable experience. We want to have feedback. If there's anything we can do better, please let me know, let Lori know, let any of us know. Okay. The reason we have standard operating procedures here is we want to provide a safe, efficient, friendly environment for everybody. And not just for our customers and for Soaring NV people, but also for the entire airport. We're a big part of the operations at the airport here, and we've worked these operating procedures out with the airport management. And so it's not just that we're asking you to do these, this is kind of required. That we need to, in order to, we have a great relationship with the airport management, and we want to keep it that way. That can make or break an operation. Right now we have a really good relationship. Actually, Chris is gonna, from the airport is gonna come talk to us tomorrow. So yeah, I want you to become familiar with the operating procedures, which you're gonna do in the next half hour, and yeah, please follow them. Now, if there's something that you think that we could do that would work better, please let us know. These procedures are evolving all the time. Okay? Okay. We require checkouts every year. So now if somebody's flying here every week throughout the year, then yeah, next time the new year comes around, we're probably just going to say, yeah, we've seen you fly, you're okay. But if somebody hasn't flown here for several months, we're going to want to just do at least a quick checkout. Make sure you're up to date on new procedures, and that your flying skills haven't deteriorated. We require checkouts in all these areas, and that's enough of that. This is our airport diagram. We are over here. The glider staging area is over here. And we're going to be using, with the weather we're going to having the next 5 days, we'll probably be launching over here almost all the time. When we have wave conditions, sometimes we will launch from the intersection, either launching on 1-6 or 3-4. If you are going to roll through the intersection, pay a lot of attention to any other traffic. If you have any idea that your radio's not working, don't roll through the intersection. Make the call that you're going to roll through the intersection, because power pilots around here pretty much expect us to land on 3-0 and then hold short. So if you're not going to do that, it's important to let them know. There's windsocks scattered throughout. Windsock over here next to the glider staging area, windsock over here. There's a tetrahedron actually in here, inside the segmented circle. I'm sorry, not a tetrahedron, it's a wind T. So make sure you realize which way it's going. The frequency for CTAF is 123.05, AWAS 119325. In the front of your notebook, there's a little card that has all those frequencies on it in the front pocket. So I'll hit that a little bit more later. If you're, especially not so much this time, but if you're planning on flying your own glider here, or you staged out at the intersection, it's very important you don't pull the gliders out on the runway yourself, wait for our line crew to do it, because if the line crew will come get you when we have a tow plane available. If you pull out on the intersection, you block both runways, and that really pisses people off. And we don't want you to piss the rest of the airport off. Okay. For those of you flying your own glider, we want to have you fill out a tow ticket for every launch. So just put your name, the VIN number, and the date on it. You don't have to fill out any of the bottom stuff, the water ballast, thermal, and tow speed, unless you have something that you want done differently than normal. So you fill that out before you fly. When the line crew comes up to you, hand them the ticket, they hand it to the tow pilot so that the tow pilot knows what you want. It's also the only way we have to keep track of going who's filling what. So we require that you, if you're flying your own ship, you have one of these.
What would be the normal tow speed?
We tow about 60, 65.
What do you mean by thermal on tow?
if we find a thermal while we're on tow, the tow plane can just crank around and climb faster. You know, beginners tend not to like that. More experienced pilots are fine with it. Okay. And then, yeah, so you just hand it to the line crew, they take it from there. Okay, if you're flying one of our gliders, you'll be doing a rental ticket. Same thing, name and number and date. All of our gliders have Hobbs meters in them. So before you take off, note the Hobbs reading, and then when you land, note it again. You can just mark on the side of the ticket there. So you know, say you towed 8,500, you just put a tick mark 8.5 real quick. That way you know what you got off at for billing purposes. So you can check it against the tow pilot's records. And then when you're done flying, you can just bring that into the front desk, give it to them, and they'll write up your invoice. That altitude is regular altitude, not above the ground. MSL, right, MSL. Now, if you're flying with one of our instructors, you don't have to worry about any of this, because we take care of that. Is your, you know, there's two gliders, two people brought gliders, right? Is yours a motor glider or is it a, okay? Never mind then. Okay, all of our gliders have radios and transponders. I'm assuming your gliders have radios. So, transponders, if you have them, tune them to 1202. That's the national squawk code for transponders for gliders now. The main frequencies we're going to be using are there. One of the big changes we've had this year, the Soaring NB base, if you want to get hold of the office down here, you're not going to use 1233 anymore, it's 12285. So if you want to have the wave window open, if you want to say that, hey, I've landed and I need the golf cart to bring me back, or whatever, use 12285, that's what we monitor in here. For glider to glider, 1233, 1235. Okay. 12305 is the common, the CTAF. Keep chatter on that to a minimum. If you want to talk about lift, location, things like that, just ask quickly for them to change to 12285, and then you can have your conversation there.
Or 1233.
Or yeah. If it's gusting over 30 knots, or if we get more than 15 knot crosswind, we shut down. There's no debate. So it's not a, the glider pilot feels comfortable, so we'll go ahead and do it. Okay.
Gliders will see before.
Road brake options. If we have road brakes off of 3.0, the green path there is the path the tow plane typically takes. So once they've started that turn to the right, it's actually easier to turn, that's a turn to the left. Once they start that turn to the left, it's easier to turn back to the right to get lined up with the runway. If we have a strong crosswind, of course, from the left, you would go ahead and bring it around to the right. But typically, because they start this turn, a turn to the right is easier. Once we get above 400 feet, do a abbreviated pattern, don't worry about getting to the end of the runway. And then somewhere in here, just based on your judgment, you can just go ahead and do a right pattern for 3.0. Very similar to if you're taking off in 1.6. 1.6, if you take off the intersection, you got a lot of runway ahead of you. So, and the land out options out here are pretty nice. Out here, there's a church right off the end of the runway. There are some power lines. There are some, they irrigate the fields over there, so they can be irrigation pipes and sprinklers sticking up. So basically, once you're not going to land on the runway, once you're high enough to the point where you can't get it back down to the runway easily, you'll just keep your air brakes closed until you find a nice place to put it down straight ahead until you get to 200 feet. And then you come back. Power traffic stays on the west side of the airport. Glider traffic is on the east. I should have used the word power traffic is supposed to stay
on the west side of the airport. I would say, you know, every day there's several people who come in who have not read the operating, you know, have not read the, that book, Airport Facilities Directory, and they hear, you know, we're the most popular aircraft here. They hear us doing a right pattern for 3-0. The wind may be straight down 3-4, but they'll still go ahead and do a right pattern for 3-0. Or even more fun, they'll do a long straight in for 3-0. So just because this is the supposed traffic patterns, keep an eye out for other stuff going on. Okay, so
It doesn't say though that the preferred runway for power is 3-4, right? I know it's left traffic, but sometimes I question why when winds are benign, power pilots land on 3-0.
Yeah, I think it does say that it's. Let's look that up.
I
But
think the only hint is like calm wind runway 3-4.
Does it say that? Okay.
it's the long, it's the big long
Yeah,
wide
no, it's the one
runway,
they should
so-
be.
But you know, if they, you know, livings, they hear
It's a
some,
lemming
they hear
effect,
one
they hear that.
person land and they do the same.
But one thing I noticed is whenever you hear a power pilot call right traffic, 3-0, 3-4,
Yeah, I get on the radio and educate them. And Chris at the airport office does the same thing. We try to get them, so that if they come in here again, they know. Yeah, the pattern entry points. Actually, I think I have that on the next slide. Pattern entry point. There's so here's 3-0 here. Here's the glider staging area. This Starbucks is very visible out there. It's a big white Starbucks roasting plant, big white roofed flat building. Smells real nice when you fly over it. Sometimes creates a good thermal. Just to the northeast of that is what we call the ranch. Totally indistinct except for the fact that we call it the ranch. So we want to be there about 6,000 feet, 5,700 to 6,000 feet. Fly that pattern. There is down in here. That's yeah, I did it. Down in here, there's this area. It's a compost pile, and so when you're going to land on 1-6, that's your entry point. It doesn't smell nearly as nice as Starbucks. I often on hot summer days have to tell when I'm giving rides, okay, the smell you're about to smell is not me. Now, occasionally, if we have high winds, we will land on the closed runway. If that happens, you just want to enter you see a small pattern. The only reason you do this is the winds are really high, so you keep a nice tight pattern. And just enter just to the side of 3-4 here.
What runway is that?
We call it the closed runway, but it's 2-1.
There are no numbers on it, just the next.
Yeah, there's no numbers, it's just the next.
So the reciprocal is not used there?
No, because that would be landing over hangars. We never, I should say, never say never, but I've never seen the wind from that direction, but we were the landing direction. Okay. If you're landing on 1-6 and you use the numbers as your aim point, you're going to stop about right there. Okay? So typically we use, we touch down around in here, roll out to the staging area. We need that much. Okay? This is a long runway. If you aim at the end, then you're going to have about 4,000 feet, 3,000 feet left to go after you've stopped, which means we've got to come get you. That runway's closed, and you won't be popular with the power traffic or with the line crew.
Is there nowhere to pull off?
Now, there's one taxiway here, and that's about it.
You can't go off into the dirt, pull off into it's just not.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to do that.
Those lights along the way.
Because you're not going to be able to pull off far enough where technically you'd be off the runway. So what you need to do is there's a taxiway right here that also has X's on it. And if you touch down near the end of that taxiway, then you'll have plenty of energy to roll into this area. You can make this corner right here if you feel comfortable doing it. If not, just stop in the intersection or near there, and then we'll come get you real quick. But we can get you much quicker here than we can down here. Likewise on 3, if you're landing on 3-4. And keep in mind, most of the time we're landing on 1-6 or 3-4 because the winds are too strong to land on 3-0. And so your roll is even going to be shorter than what I've shown. Okay? You go through the intersection, again, be careful. Look for traffic. Okay, all of our gliders have the mountain high oxygen systems in it. They all will have a card like this in the pocket in the glider that reminds you how to use it. Is everybody, how many people are familiar with the mountain high? Okay, so we still got you. So, some things to remember. When you, we have cannulas available, we have masks available. The cannulas, if it's in a plastic bag with a label on it that says cleaned and ready for use or something like that, then use it. If that label's broken, ask for another one. We do clean the alcohol and reuse it. To plug it in, you can just push the tube in there into the end of the unit. To get the tube out, don't just pull on it, you've got to push on this collar, and then you can pull the tube out. If you don't do that, it breaks it. There are all these different settings you use by these two buttons. Change the settings. Normal setting just is the normal setting. It gives you oxygen based on your altitude and what works for a normal person. I never use it. I want more oxygen. The delayed settings, the D settings, they won't give you oxygen until you're at that altitude. So D10 won't give you oxygen until you're at 10,000 feet. I never use that setting. The F settings give you additional oxygen. So if you're at 5,000 feet, it gives you, and you use the F5 setting, it gives you additional oxygen like you're at 10,000 feet. So it enriches it. If you set it on the F10 setting, a lot more oxygen. F20, a whole lot more oxygen. The RN is for reserve or manual, and it's the maximum amount it can give you. So if you're using a face mask, you have to use one of these settings. And all these settings adjust with altitude. The higher you go, the more oxygen it gives you. So you can set it and then don't worry, you don't have to change it again. It's not like you change it with altitude like you did with the old Nelson systems. Again, it's probably not going to be an issue, but if I do get up to 28,000 feet, I'm up there for any amount of time, or if I'm just up that high, I will put it on RM for the last 5 minutes of the flight before I come into land, just to make sure I'm saturated. So, and just get a lot of oxygen the last 5 minutes before especially if it's challenging conditions, it's good to be oxygenated. Okay, on the right, on the back side of this card are the alarms. When you first turn the unit on, it should give some beeps, a pulse of oxygen, and the red light should flash. That's normal. If it doesn't do any of those things, there's a problem. In normal operation, every time you breathe in, the LED there should flash green for half a second, showing that you've got a breath of air. If for some reason the unit is not getting oxygen, then it will do a multi-level beep, and the red light will flash. So it's a beep, 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 beep. So you've got to make sure that it's connected, make sure the bottle's open. And this happens to me a lot because I talk a lot, if I'm talking and I breathe through my mouth and I don't breathe through my nose for too long, it will give me a beep saying, hey, you got to remember to breathe. So that's just a short beep, 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 and the yellow light comes on. Now if the battery's getting low, there's no beeping, it's just the red light. So when you first turn it on, you want to watch and make sure that the light doesn't keep flashing after that initial thing. So if it does, get some new batteries. We have them out there. Usually they last for months and months and months, but sometimes the unit will get left on or whatever, so just check it. Okay. Just some basic stuff here. If you're gonna be out past 5 o'clock, and let us know. Give us an update on the radio if you have final glide made, if you may be landing out. When you're flying cross country around here, always be ready to land out. Have stuff you need with you, water, food, cell phone. If we have to come get you, it costs a lot. Either if we do it in the air or on the ground, so keep that in mind. And all these, you can get, our entire SOPs are available online, or we have printed copies in here, and all the details and stuff are in there, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. Everybody know where Heavenly Ski Resort is? Right over there. It's the ski resort you can see from the ground out here. It's the only ski resort that's close, so if you see ski trails, stay away from them. We had an incident where an instructor from this particular glider port landed on their bunny slope. He's no longer here, and so we just give them a wide berth. So okay, so in the pocket of your notebook, there's an area landmark card and frequency card that has this information on it. So the blue here is the wave window we normally use, which is the left window. There's some landmarks like the ski ponds here, the sand pits, the reservoir, which kind of show where that boundary is. The western boundary of the box is basically the edge of the lake, and it goes all the way down to the top edge of Topaz Lake down here. That's pretty far south, or Alpine County, a little bit south of that, Alpine County Airport. So that's pretty much the box, but you should really be able to navigate with respect to those landmarks if you're going to fly in the wave window, which you're probably not this week. Thanks for
You gotta be positive, Russell. Think positive.
Yeah,
He's positive. We're not going to do this.
It's probably my fault. Lori said that she didn't, she hasn't bragged about having a wave the last couple of years, great wave conditions during wave season. I did brag. Last year. Last year and the year before. It was awesome. See, we did it again. Here's the other wave windows we rarely use them, but we're just putting them there for the.
Can you go back to that for a second? The other, I just want to see, the one that you use the most is west.
West, yeah.
Central and east, very
I've
rare.
never had the central or the east open.
Oh, is that right?
I mean, they may have been open in the last 2 years. They haven't.
I've been here 18 years and the east one was open once.
What's that?
I said I've been here 18 years and the east one open only once.
Yeah, so it's not.
So does Gordon has a different procedure that he uses? Clearly he's not in the designated.
Yeah, we'll have to pick his brain and see exactly what he's doing. That's one of the things I want to ask him. Is like, okay, how do you get to be able to get the clearances you're getting? Okay. So if we are going to fly in the wave window, and yes, we may not do it this week, but hopefully you'll come back and do it sometime. First of all, make sure you're familiar with the local terrain features and those landmarks I just pointed out. Definitely make sure you're squawking. You have to have a transponder. Make sure you're squawking 1202 on your transponder, and then you'll contact Soaring ND on 12285, and you just say, Soaring ND base. This is glider Kilo Sierra, 15,000 feet, climbing at 1,000 feet per minute. Would like to have the west window open. Typically, they will then say stand by. They have to call a couple of numbers to get the wave windows open. That normally takes a few minutes because they got to get all the aircraft, the big aircraft out of the window or route them around it. Then they'll call back and say, okay, you guys, at that point, and until you get the call that it's open, don't go above 18,000 feet. They'll get back to you and say, okay, it's open until a certain time.
and then you're free to go again. If for some reason you can't stay in it, in other words, you're above 18,000 feet, you're in the window, but clouds are forming and you get pushed out the side, or the lift is so strong that you're going to go through the top or have to go through the front of it. Let Oakland Center know on 128.8 immediately. They're expecting you to stay in that box, so just let them know that for safety you've had to come out of it. And then once you're out of the wave window, let us know, 12285, and that way we can give the airspace back to Oakland. Okay. Some of the stuff I'm going to go over now is just part of our normal area checkout, so I just want to go ahead and hit it all. Don't think we're going to have thunderstorms in the next few days, but who knows. We do have a lot of them around here, especially in July, August. Really strong turbulence, really strong ground drafts, strong winds, poor visibility, icing, and my least favorite, lightning. So you got to give these things a wide berth to make sure you don't get struck. This is a real picture of a downburst out in the that way a few miles. Things several miles across. So you can imagine if you're trying to land about that time, those are probably 50, 60 knot winds kicking that stuff up. So keep an eye out for that kind of thing. We're going to be going over soundings and predicting thunderstorms later, I think on Tuesday or something. So know how to do that so you can know when they're going to be around. We also have, yesterday we had some pretty amazing gust levels out there. They can start up very quickly, they can become strong very quickly, and they can flip a glider, open a canopy, move trailers. So if your trailers, once you've taken the glider out of the trailer, make sure the trailer's tied down, otherwise it could take out several other trailers or gliders. And of course, if you have to do a takeoff or landing near or through one of these things, good luck. It can be interesting. One of the conditions we have here is kind of unique because we have this lake a couple thousand feet above us over here. It's very cold, has cool air on top of it that just flows down the mountain like water. And so right in close to the mountain, you can get a very strong downdraft. You may be getting lift off the peaks, but in the passes, that cold air is going to come through and drop down. So if you're just flying along the ridge, everything may be fine, and all of a sudden the wind speed increases and you're going down. Pretty easy to get out of it, just turn away from the mountain. So, don't turn it. We can also, the winds at the surface here at the airport can change very quickly because you can imagine when this first starts, maybe there's a little, like a mini cold front coming through here, and as it moves across, comes over the airport, conditions change very quickly. When we have wave conditions, sometime this week, something positive now,
there you go.
we can have very strong winds, severe turbulence, severe lift and sink, and rapidly changing surface winds. Typically, and we'll go over this in a little bit, the rotor's drawn as this nice one rotating thing. In reality, it's all these little eddies, and if those shift around a little bit, or one dissipates, another is created, the wind on the ground can shift very quickly, very dramatically. And we'll talk about this more later, but the effects of altitude on your true airspeed are significant, especially if people who have only flown at low altitudes. You've got to realize that when you're up around 30,000 feet, 28,000 feet, your true airspeed is going to be much higher than your indicated airspeed. So flutter, turning radius, all these things are different. So you can imagine if your actual speed through the air is higher, then your turning radius is going to be much larger. So turning a distance from the mountain that works at a lower altitude may not work at higher altitude. So give yourself plenty of room when you're maneuvering up near the peaks.
skip through some of the, yeah, well, that's last. Okay, so that's it.